Although Gimp is not the program that I usually work in, I'm going to make the male Polo-vendor in Gimp and show you how I did it, and that might inspire you on using Gimp and make your own vendors. I'm going to start out with a new layer, and that layer should be 1024 by 512. Good, let's get it on the screen. There. My background is going to be a linear gradient going from dark to light. So I go to the gradient tool, linear is fine, it is going to be dark to light, so I'm going to make a line like this. That's okay. Now it's time to drag in my models. I prepared the models in an earlier stage, so I can drag them in one by one. And I also have two ones that have their polo tucked in their pants. Good. Well, they're a bit too big, and we are going to make them smaller. But before that, it is smart to rename your layers, because otherwise it is very hard to know what is what. Well, the last one, that is the one with the tucked and the long sleeves, so I will call it tucked long sleeves. This one is the tucked short sleeves. Good. Now I'm going to scale them and put them in the proper place on the field. If I'm going to scale them, I use the scale tool or Shift T, and I click Keep Aspect. That way we are not going to get squeezed figures. Here you can choose for a different scaling. Cubic is fine in this case. Click, smaller, move him a bit. Oh, this is fine. And click scale, or enter, of course. Well, and if they are scaled, then it is wise to put them in the right order, because this one is now a bit at the back, and I want this short sleeves to be completely in the foreground. The tucked long sleeves has to go a bit to the back. This is how I like it, so I can see them all, and they are nicely lined up. I'm now going to pimp them up a little. I will remove all the others and have just the, oh, not the background, of course, just the short sleeves guy. If we look close, we can see that here is a bit of a sharp line. That sharp line I want to reduce, because I'm going to give this guy some drop shadow, and then this lighter sharp line would look very odd in the shadow. And in a few steps I'm going to show you how to do that. To start with, I'm duplicating this layer. So now I've got a short sleeve copy. That one I'm going to give a blur, filters, blur, Gaussian blur, and that can be 3 pixels. Okay. See, it is now very blurry. I don't want it to be completely blurry. I want a sharp picture, but I want the borders to be blurry. So in order to do that, I'm going to add a mask, and later on with a very soft brush I'm going to remove the outer lines. I'm going to remove that mask, and so that way the blurry, the soft lines will shine through. Adding a mask is layer, mask, add mask, and then I get this one, and I choose the full transparency, the black one, and you see here I get this black mask. I now take a pencil, I choose a very blurry one, this one, and it should be in white. And what I now do, and I can go a bit closer, if I drag those lines, you see here that there is this little bit of white that is where I remove the mask, and that way I remove that sharp line. See it go? It is going to be a bit fuzzy, and because it is a bit fuzzy, it will in a later stage blend in with the shade. So I'm going to give him this fuzzy outline. Especially hair can be very natural. I mean, hair normally doesn't have this very sharp lines. Good. Now I've done that, and I'm going to give the one underneath, the non-blurry one, I'm going to give this one a drop shadow. Well, in order to do that, I need to select the pixels. So I right click, I say alpha to selection. I say filters, light and shadow, drop shadow. Now I get the drop shadow window. I choose a very wide but very soft shadow, so 10 by 10. The blur radius 15 is fine, but the transparency goes back to say 50. There we go. And now you can see what happens, and that is typically Gimp. You get your shadow all right, but you also get a extra space here for some reason that I don't want. Well, after I've done all the shadows, I'm going to remove that extra space, so don't worry about it. For now I'm going to merge down these layers to make this model only one layer's short sleeves. So right click, choose merge down, and right click, choose merge down. There. This is the short sleeves. I have to do this with the long sleeves, the tucked ones, the behind, etc, etc. So give me a second and I'm going to adjust them all. After I've done the procedure to all these models, you see that the space that went around it for the drop shadow has become really big. It is very easy to crop it back to the original position. We go to the background because the background was our original image. We say alpha to selection, so we have selected the background, and now we go to image and crop to selection, and we are back to our original size of the image. Good. Now it's time for some text. I want the text here on the lower part, but if I would put text here with the black and the white, I would have to choose a really bright color in order to keep the contrast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a small black border here where I can put my text in. So I go to the selection tool. I start with making a new layer, and I call that black border. Good. And I'm dragging a black border here. Fill tool, make sure black is selected, and fill it. There is my black border. Here I can put in some text. Let me start with the permissions. I would like to have the permissions there, so I call the new layer copy, modify, transfer. Those permissions I would like to give with symbols, and you have gotten in your zip package a set of brushes that we can use now. I will show you how to use it. First you need to know where Gimp puts the brushes, so I go to Edit, Preferences, I open my folders, I look where the brushes are, and they are here. I can copy this and paste it in my Explorer window, and you drag in the ABR file that you got in the zip package. After you've done that, you click here on the refresh button, and here you see is the new set vendor aids. I want to use this one just these nice rounded letters. I want to have a brush with a T. This set is going to be only copy, not modify, not transfer, so the T should be red because it's forbidden. Let me have a look. This is far too big, so I can scale it down. You can scale it down here to, let's say, 60. Modify is forbidden as well. Let me get a bit closer. And copy should be green because copy is allowed. Copy, modify, transfer, very clear. You can do it on 3 different layers, of course, so you can line it out properly. I've done this now a bit quick on 1 layer. Time for the text. The text should be in white. I click the text and I'm going to look for a nice font, a font that I think is pretty. Make it simple. Don't use, it's better to use Arial that is readable than any odd font that is very hard to read. This one, and I want it 24 pixels wide. I'm going to click here. I say use the selected font, and I'm going to type my text, the text that I want here. It's 2 jackets, 2 shirts. There, this is the text. I say close, and it just fits. So let me get a bit closer because I want it a bit up. I have to move it. Pick it up and move it so it is in the middle of the black border. There we go. How does that look? Yes, that looks good. Time to make the name of this outfit. I'm going to call it simply Polo. So I click for a new text layer. I'm going to use a different font. You can use up to 2 fonts, so that is fine. Make it a bit bigger. Ooh, maybe a bit very big, like this. Use the selected font, and I say Polo. Oh, that is nice and big. Okay, close. Well, this text I want counterclockwise here, and I want it a bit smaller. So I'm going to scale it first. Make it a bit flat there. Scale. And then go to layer, transform counterclockwise, and I pick it up. Oh, I see I have to scale it a bit more. It's a bit too big. Scale. Well, that is nice. Maybe a little bit up. And this is my vendor. This is how I want to have it, so I can save it as a JPEG and use it as a promo picture. This size is perfect for the marketplace, by the way, and as a promo picture. Later on we have to scale it down to use it as a vendor because these big pictures have a real big loading time, but I will get back to that on the next chapter.